All right, distinguished guests, our super supportive audience, we are glad to have you again. Today is another interesting discussion that is going to be taking place. We are going to be discussing issues that borders on our rights. Everybody has one or two legal issues, one or two legal complaints. Today, the focus of our discussion is access to justice. In this access to justice, we'll be discussing the steps you need to take when your rights have been trampled upon. There are so many complaints, harassment from security personnel, harassment from people who think by the what do you call it, social strata of the society, they are placed above you, one form of harassment or the other. At times, even rights that you don't know that you have, when you are being oppressed, there is this innate ability in you that tells you something wrong has been done to me. Now, today we have a very distinguished lawyer, a lawyer par excellence, a very, uh, you need to hear from him. He is going to be taking us through the different steps and solutions you need when your rights have been trampled upon. Please pay attention, send down your questions. We are ready to take your questions. We will respond to your questions as we usually do. Just put it down, send it to the comment section. And don't forget, you can as well watch this session in case you are busy. You can watch it after the session is concluded. One thing you need to do for us, do well to subscribe to this channel, hit the notification button, and keep sharing so that others will learn the excellent free legal education that we are dishing out to you every day. So thank you once more. So to our distinguished guests, you're welcome. Please, our audience would like to meet you, know your name and who you are, sir.
Thank you very much. So my name is Victor Onuche Chapi. I'm a legal practitioner, 8 years at the bar, the managing partner of Winged Fire Legal Consult. I am the Northern Region Coordinator for Justice Resource Network. Um, I am also the Head of Special Duties and Litigation to the African Regional Head of the International Human Rights Commission. um, Several other assignments that we are doing, but for the sake of time, I would want to stop here. I am passionate about human rights generally and specifically for the rights of persons who are in pre-trial detention. Through the Duty to Resource Network that I coordinate both in the North and in Abuja, we work with magistrates and lawyers to visit police stations from time to time to make sure that within the FCT, anyone who is arrested for any reason does not stay in detention longer than the constitutionally allowed time. And this we do under the Administration of Criminal Justice Act and the Administration of Criminal Justice laws of various states. Duty Soldiers Network is at the forefront of advocating for human rights, especially for those who are indigent and who have been arrested by the police station, who may not be able to afford the intervention of a lawyer. And um, and we've seen a lot of progress within the FCT, whereby the percentage of persons who are arbitrarily arrested and detained have reduced to almost reduced by almost 30%, even though we still have scattered cases due to the fact that the scheme still needs to be improved on. But there are several police stations you go now, they release you without, they don't even wait for the lawyers or the magistrates to come. They release you because they know that at any time, on unexpected visits can be paid by either a magistrate or some of our duty solicitors. So it's a pleasure to be here today. I appreciate the host of this show for inviting me. I'm looking forward to interacting with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much. When he started giving the profile, he said because of time he will stop there. Ah, for me, even it's not even the time matter. I don't dey look for where to adjust my seat self. North Region Coordinator of Duty Solicitors
Network.
There is another position for African listing. So I tell you, in this channel, we always get people who are loaded, people who have what to tell you, people who are in the field, they are well experienced in the field. We are talking about law and we're talking about practice of law so that you will learn, so that you will be safe, so that you will be protected. So, sir, today in Access to Justice, we want our audience to know, how do I access justice? Because there are various cases of human rights violation, harassment, and all that. Now, when we talk about human rights violation, what is human rights violation? How can I know that my right has been violated?
Okay. I would love to speak a little bit more to access to justice, but let me answer this question so that the conversation will be coordinated.
All right, sir.
Now, what is human rights? Now we all know that the fact that the word human is in the term means that it's something that is unique to human beings, right? And then, okay, if you say human rights, these are rights that are inalienable. You cannot reject them. The fact of your humanity bestows the right on you. So these are rights that you have by virtue of the fact that you are born a human being. They are not animal rights. Animals have their own rights, right? Businesses have rights, but these are rights that are unique to human beings, and that's why you see that they are universal, right? And which is why we are crying and complaining, because as it is now, we've heard that they say injustice to one is injustice to all. But in practice, it's not the truth. But that's what it's supposed to be. So human rights are rights that you don't pay for them, they belong to you just by virtue of your humanity. And they are universal, they apply all over the world. And then you know, if you say your rights have been violated, it does not mean that violation in this sense does not mean, okay, someone has come and then harmed you. Someone technically stopping you from accessing your human rights is a violation.
Okay.
Right? For example, a right to dignity of human person. Right? This right says you're not supposed to be treated in any inhuman way. You're not supposed to be degraded, torture, and there are different forms of torture. Somebody can, for example, we are hearing of humanitarian crisis where people being denied food, humanitarian aid, food, is a violation of their human rights because the humanitarian aid is available but it's not being made, they don't have access to it. So it's a breach of their human rights. And we're talking about pretrial detainees, how the police and some other agencies will keep people they arrest in police cell, sometimes not even in prison, in police cell for weeks, which is not, the law does, there's no way that can be legal. There's no how you do it that to be legal.
So, Mr. Victor, let me get you clear. Are you saying that the police cannot arrest somebody and detain him for weeks? Because practically in practice, we've seen people being in police detention 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month, 2 months.
3 months. We've seen all kinds of things on the field, but it's not just the police. It's not just the police. The EFCC, DSS, DIA, NIA, civil defense, immigration,
Even civil
customs.
defense.
Yes, they have people in their detention.
Okay, so
NAPTIP,
people that are detained for this long, what can they do, or what can their relations? Are there any steps they will take to correct this?
okay. Now, since we're talking about what you can do in the situation where you need justice, because justice here does not mean that you are going to escape the liability for an offense you allegedly commit. If you commit an offense, right, it is for the good of the society that that offense is investigated properly according to the law, prosecuted properly according to the law, and then if that person is found guilty by a competent court, that person be suffer. I mean, enjoys the music for the offense they've allegedly committed. So that's not, we're not talking about access to justice as a way, because that is the understanding of some persons in the society. You believe that when you say access to justice or protection of human rights, you want to use it to escape criminal liability, or any other form of liability. That is not what we are trying to talk about here. When we say, okay, your rights are being trampled on, the Constitution has already established that you shouldn't be in detention more than 24 hours, worst case scenario, 48 hours, unless for very special circumstances that is rare to find in Nigeria. So you are supposed to be released at most, worst case scenario, 48 hours, except maybe you were arrested over the weekend, and then okay, the courts don't typically operate during the weekend, so you have to wait till the next week. But if you are arrested within 20 weeks, in fact, at the point of your arrest, you are supposed to be told what offense you have been arrested for. So you asking for what offense and the police telling you get to the station first, it's actually wrong. It's not procedure. You're supposed to be notified, and even if you get to the police station, you can still demand. It's your right to know what you are being arrested for. And in most cases, we see this happening in Nigeria, where people are not actually arrested for any reason. They are just sometimes they invite you, it's not an arrest, and then by merely inviting you, they automatically place you on arrest, and before you know it, they start talking about detention and you bailing yourself by paying money. That's one of the greatest evil we are seeing in Nigeria today, where people have to pay to gain, as to enjoy something that is free. That's another thing I need to say. Human rights are free. I mentioned it. I'm just trying to emphasize.
Okay,
human rights are free.
We'll get to this
So,
aspect
so
of.
to quickly answer your question, the first thing you need to do to protect your rights in the event that it's being violated, you need to even know what your rights are. Ignorance is your fastest way to becoming a victim.
Wow.
When it comes to human rights,
ignorance of your rights.
Ignorance of your rights. And this knowledge is available abundantly everywhere, right? You can go online, you can find out online, you can speak to a legal practitioner.
You can commit to
this channel. You will get to know your rights. Human rights are diverse. In Nigeria, every Nigerian citizen, or whoever Nigeria has accepted as a citizen, because you could be from outside and you naturalize, you have a right to own property. So that is not a physical right. It's not a right bestowed on just your person. It's a right you can, it's a proprietary right. You have freedom of movement. You shouldn't be stopped from going anywhere, except it's for the security of the state or security for yourself or for other persons, right? Or in a situation of, an emergency situation and all that. But yes, first of all, know your rights. And then after you know your rights, then you need to demand for your rights. So that's the second step. You need to demand for your rights. When you know your right, you see, we watch a lot of American movies, and then you see Americans telling their own security agencies that you cannot detain me for more than 24 hours or whatever, because I know my rights.
Know the rights.
Once you say that, the proper police will stop whatever they are doing, because they know that if they continue doing what they are doing, they are liable to civil liability.
Wow.
We will still get further into the constitutional way of, accessing justice to protect your human rights. But those are things you can do immediately. Know your rights, okay? Demand for your rights. Very important.
Thank you very much. When you invite somebody that is very loaded, even myself, I'm trying to digest the volume and weight of the information he's downloading on us here. One of the things I'm trying to catch is that access to justice does not mean accessing protection from your criminal liability. Access to justice is you getting justice to ensure that the legal procedure provided for the prosecution of the offense you are alleged to have committed is followed. One of the ways he told us is that even if you are arrested by the police, you are not supposed to stay too long in police custody before being charged to court. He said at most 48 hours because in rare cases do we have situations where the police can detain you for longer period than that, especially if you are not arrested during weekend. So for all of una we like to dey waka and hang around on Fridays, know that Saturday and Sunday no go count if police kpapuka you for that weekend. E no go follow for that 48 hours or 24 hours. So as you dey waka for Friday, make you wise up. Abi no be so?
That's how it is.
So when we talk about access to justice, you have given examples, and then we'll build on these examples. You talked about the first thing we need to know in accessing justice and in protecting our rights is that we need to know these rights. You talked about the right to dignity of human person, that a person is not supposed to be treated in most undignifying manner. Can you just share light on one or two of the other rights before we go into deeper discussions?
Okay, so I just talked about the right to freedom of movement, freedom of movement. And freedom of movement is so unique that if somebody tries to play smart and lock you in a room or deny you access or exit from a public space, it's not a private space, because obviously if you enter my house and I did not allow you to enter my house, I can lock my door. It's my house. I didn't ask you to enter. We will still even come and ask you what you are doing in the house. Then you may need to answer to the police. But yes, for a public space like an office area, an office is a public space, okay, except for people who are not staff, who are not supposed to be there. But you know, a public like a mall, a hospital, if you are denied exit or entrance, that is a violation of your right to freedom of movement.
This example you have brought it just spike up something in me. So how does one get denied exit from office? Does it include keeping me in office far beyond my closing time? And even when I have to plead with you, I'll still have to stay in office. Does it
No,
include
no, no,
that?
no, no. For example, if there are unfair labor practices in the office where someone is working, and then the unfair labor practices is keeping you working beyond the time you're supposed to work, what that organization is supposed to do is to have an arrangement to pay you for the extra time you work. But if there's no arrangement like that, then that is unfair labor practices. It's something you can go to court for. But then that's not the question now. The question is, if being forced to stay after closing hours constitutes, denial of freedom of movement. The truth is this: it does not constitute denial of freedom of movement, because the only reason you have not left is because you don't want to offend your boss and lose your job. But you can actually stand up and walk out. Denying freedom of movement is when, for example, the building has 2 or 3 entrance or exits, right? And then somehow, technically, those entrances are locked and under the control of somebody who refuses to make them open for you to leave or enter into the building. In that instance, that person locking the door and refusing constitutes a breach, a violation of your rights as a human being to freedom of movement. There's also freedom of speech, which is regulated, but yes, you are free to express yourself. Freedom of expression of thought, and freedom of, so these are rights that are inalienable, they are innate. The fact that you are a human being, you have these rights. Okay, there are several other rights. That's one of the major rights is this right to bail. That's why that's what I was talking about earlier. There are rights that if they are violated, they are civil. They are inclined to the civil area. There are other ones that are inclined to the criminal area. We talked about the criminal aspects. But the truth is that all these rights put together and many more, there are several of them. Some of them are contained in the Nigerian Constitution, amended. There are some contained in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights by the United Nations, by the African Union Charter on Human Rights. There are several documents that contain what constitutes human rights, right to education for children and all that. So now, but that's why you need to pursue knowledge. You need to pursue knowledge. And like you said, get connected to this channel, subscribe, follow, so that you can actually get this information over time. That is one of the greatest means of empowerment, to be able to protect your rights.
Interesting. One of the most catchy thing for me is unfair labor practice. And honestly speaking, if we go into that, even the whole discussion of today is going, it will not even be enough. But we promise you that we are going to dedicate a day to talk about unfair labor practice. Follow our handles, follow our channels. We'll update you on when this discussion is coming up. We will open the channel for you to send your questions on our channel, to send your questions on our WhatsApp status, on our WhatsApp number, Facebook, anyhow that you want to send it. We'll keep your information discreet, because we know that a lot of people are suffering different kind of unfair labor practices. Before then, we'll give you a little understanding of what unfair labor practice is, so that it will guide you on the questions you need to ask to tell us about what is happening in your workspace, how we can come in for you, how we can intervene for you. Because at ISHAKU Legal Hub, we are not just dedicated to dishing out information to you. We're also committed to see that we help you in accessing justice. We help you in enforcing your right. We all are first humans, and we all, injustice to one is injustice to all. Uh, we are here for you. That is just what we want to say. At ISHAKU Legal Hub, we get your back as far as legal matters and legal representation is concerned. So, sir, for our audience, don't forget, make sure one day you follow us, you get our discussion on unfair labor practices. So we have a question here. Say, when my right to dignity of person is assaulted, which of the legal bodies am I supposed to reach out to, and what is the process?
Okay. Now, thank you very much. Right to dignity of human persons and several other human rights, not just the right to dignity of human persons.
Okay.
Now, there are two major government institutions that you can approach to kickstart the process for the enforcement of your human rights. Okay. Number one is the National Human Rights Commission, right? They are fairly funded. They have a lot of professionals on board. They have been acknowledged both locally and internationally for some level of success. You know, they played a critical role in this post NSAS protest and some of the panels that were set up there. They played a critical role. So it's important. You can approach them. They are online through their any of their contact information. You can approach them and then lay a complaint. Then they will kickstart the process to see how they can assist, and it's free of charge. It's free of charge. Then you have the Legal Aid Council, the Legal Aid Council of Nigeria. Even though sometimes we see that they do more of cases that involve maybe criminal matters, but then I know they can also be involved in civil matters too. It's a little bit broad. The law is a little bit broad. So yes, the Legal Aid Council of Nigeria, they have offices in almost all the states in Nigeria, and the headquarters in Abuja, the same thing as the National Human Rights Commission. These are two major institutions that are waiting for you to approach them, okay, to access your rights free of charge if you qualify within their own regulations to access, their free services. But then, other than that,
yes, sir,
there are Nigerian Bar Association branches in over 127 cities. NBA, the Nigerian Bar Association (NBA) has branches in almost 127 cities, small, big cities. Sometimes several branches within a city, like in Abuja, here we have almost 3 or 4 branches within Abuja, Lagos, the same thing and all that. So you can easily ask around, how can I, NBA, and then talk to the NBA representatives or the leaders closest to you, right? Most of them have human rights committees. They are supposed to have a human rights committee that can assist you pro bono. Usually, if you are an indigent person, because pro bono is not just for everybody, right? Pro bono is good, but it's not for everybody.
Sorry, sir. What is pro bono?
Pro bono means for free.
Free.
For free.
Free legal representation.
Free legal representation. So, but pro bono is not an excuse for somebody who earns, who is not living below the poverty line, right? You should be able to afford legal services. Okay, depends on your income. There are categories of income. People who earn some living, and how they can, if they can access pro bono. But if you qualify to access pro bono, obviously they will give you pro bono. So imagine somebody who is the owner of a company and who is a millionaire, and then he says they should come and protect his rights free of charge. He will be taking the opportunity for 2 or 3 other persons to receive free legal services, whereas he can actually pay for it. That's not the idea of pro bono service. Pro bono is designed for persons who are unable to afford legal representation.
Wow. So you see, having legal issues does not have regard for your social status. The rich, the average, the low class, and our learned brother say there are those that are even below the poverty level. The law and violation of rights does not have regard for your social status. So in the issue of accessing justice, truly, it costs you to access justice. You need the services of a lawyer, you need information, you need all that. But gladly, he just let us understand that there are bodies that can actually come to your aid free. He mentioned pro bono services. You can approach the Human Rights Commission, lay your complaints, and they will follow it up for you. You can as well approach the Legal Aid Council, though he said they do more of on the criminal aspect, but you can also have free legal services from there. Another one he mentioned is that there are over 100 branches of the Nigerian Bar Association across the federation. In fact, Nigerian bar associations are not just in the state capitals. Even in some local governments, there are Nigerian Bar Association branches. If you approach them, each of these branches have human rights committee that are able to represent you. But don't forget, the pro bono legal service, which is free legal service, is meant for indigent members of the society. You can access free legal consultation, you can access free legal representation so long as you qualify for that. But bros, make you not call poverty for yourself, say make you get free legal education. If you no qualify, say you know they live below poverty level, no can look for free legal services. Another platform he did not talk about is that you can reach out to ISHAKU Legal Hub, go through our videos. We have uploaded several enlightening education free of service. These are our own pro bono services. We're dedicated to enlighten you, bringing you legal education to know your right, to know how to enforce your right. If you are in Abuja, there is a Garki branch, there is a Unity branch, there is Gwagwalada, there is Buari branch. I think we have 4. There is Karu branch, a number of NBA branches that you can approach them for pro bono services. Approach them, get in touch with a lawyer if truly you cannot afford the services of a lawyer. Thank you very much, sir. Now you talk about the issue of criminal representation. Now, why do lawyers defend people who commit crime?
Okay.
The person don't commit crime, why wouldn't they defend them?
It's the same thing we say about human rights, that inalienable, right? The fact that you're a human being qualifies you to access certain human rights, right? Sorry, to access human rights, not just certain human rights, even though there are categories of rights and all that. But long story cut short, talking about why lawyers defend people who allegedly, purportedly are guilty of probably an offense or of a wrong, is because everybody has right to legal representation. Everybody has right to justice, even though their right to legal representation is not a fundamental human right. It's just that our laws say that for those who cannot afford it, a pro bono lawyer can be appointed for them by either the court or by some of these other organizations we've talked about. So that's another thing. If you are a defendant in a matter in court, and you don't have funds to. That's another method of assessing,
Injustice.
free, yes, justice. The court is also mandated to appoint a lawyer to represent you, because everybody has rights to legal representation, especially in criminal matters. So what I'm saying here is that even the criminal has human rights.
The purported
The
criminal.
alleged criminal has human rights, and that is why the law makes it clear that it's good they are represented by a lawyer, so that in the process of his trial or prosecution, it does not turn into persecution. Because some persons, for example, we have several cases of people who were wrongfully accused of rape or sexual molestation, and upon proper and thorough investigation, it was found out that there was nothing like that. If some of these persons, if they don't have legal representation, right, they would probably be convicted, and then sentenced to jail, for an offense they did not commit. There's a popular quote that somebody said that it's better, maybe 10 criminals are walking, 99 are walking free, than for one innocent person to be suffering for what he did not commit. So the criminal also has rights to legal representation. And the mere fact, in fact, the Constitution made it very clear that anybody you accuse of committing an offense is assumed to be innocent until the prosecution, the police, EFCC, whoever is the agency prosecuting person, can prove to the court that this person is actually guilty beyond reasonable doubt. So if you are assumed, that you say this person committed this offense, you are not legal, you don't have the legal authority to declare that somebody is a criminal, no matter what you know. It is only a court of competent jurisdiction that can ascertain the criminality or otherwise of a person. So before that is done, and even when that is done, the person has right to legal advice. And so lawyers don't set out, in the under the right, under the best circumstances, to defend criminals. It is their professional duty. In fact, lawyers are required not to turn down briefs because they think the person is a criminal, because everybody is entitled to legal representation.
Wow, that is how una go dey blow big English. When lawyers talk about defense, generally what we think is about carrying a shield where you shield the person from every arrow that is coming. So the problem we have with lawyers defending alleged criminals is that you don't want them to face any wrath of the law. But you see, by our discussion with our guest today, we understand that even if a person is alleged to have committed an offense, don't forget the word alleged. Now, the person is still presumed innocent. The person is still a citizen of Nigeria. The person has rights. An accused person also has constitutional rights laid down for him, through which the legal procedure of his prosecution has to be followed. So if you or any other person is alleged to have committed an offense, the defense lawyer is not there to stop the prosecution or to stop him from facing the music, but rather to ensure that the laid down procedure of the law are duly followed, so that this person will not be wrongfully convicted, so that this person will not as well be denied of his rights. Now, when we look at these people, we should also remember, as fellow Nigerians, when it is on you or on me, falsely accused or whatever, we will appreciate legal representation. So we should not in any way deny people who are alleged to have committed an offense access to justice. And we want you to know that jungle justice is a criminal offense. Whatever the person has committed, like the terrible case, was it in Imo, Anambra, where two brothers were lynched and set ablaze. That is a crime. Anybody who is found to have participated in that action is liable for murder.
Murder or manslaughter.
Or manslaughter. So please let us not do that. The defense counsel is not there to say this person has not committed an offense. In fact, we have instances where people are willing or wish they can lynch even the defense lawyer. because ignorantly they feel this is the person that has committed an offense. And as far as the general public is concerned, the defense lawyer is there to tell the court, this person has not done it, leave him to go free. That is not the position of the law. So we'll keep taking your questions as you send them over to us. Now, legal counsel, the law, Abi. Okay. If I have situation, somebody is oppressing me, giving me several form of threats in writing, verbally, and the rest, what steps can I take against such a fellow?
If I get you right, you're talking about somebody who is threatening, threat to life, verbally,
harassment, verbally harassing,
in writing over social media, or now that is a crime. That's a crime. And yes, that's what I was talking about, the fact that sometimes it's not that your rights have been violated. If there's an attempt to violate your rights, you can complain. If you reasonably believe that somebody wants to violate your rights and there is evidence to that effect, you can complain. So if somebody is threatening someone's life, right, one of the most important fundamental human rights is right to life. Right to life. The only time your life can be taken by is through the agency of the state, either for the enforcement of a court judgment for those who have been sentenced to death, or something in that direction. So, but you have a right to life. Everybody has a right to life. Anything that threatens that right is something that should be vehemently resisted. So, what are your options if somebody is threatening your life, either virtually, in reality, verbally, or otherwise? First of all, you file a complaint at the police station. That's the first thing you do, because you need to document the fact that somebody has issued a threat to your life. It's not up to the police to investigate that threat and ascertain if it's something they need to prosecute to save your own life, or something that may be trivial. But you will not take it trivially. You will file a complaint with as much evidence as you can gather against the person who has threatened your life. Okay. Now, after you do that, you can now approach any of these agencies we've talked about, right? The National Human Rights Commission, the Legal Aid Council, and the NBA, to say, I don't have, this is where I am, and then this person is threatening my life. I need protection. I need legal protection. So when that is done, if there is need for further steps to be taken, then they will take those steps. But your first option is to approach the security agencies, especially the police, and file a report.
Okay, what if the person threatening and harassing me is a uniformed personnel? Either is a policeman, is a military man, immigration, or any this thing. Are they above the law, or I can as well take some practical steps against these people?
The system, the constitutional system we run, the legal system we run in Nigeria, the monarch in the United Kingdom is above the law. She's not subject to the laws of her own country. She's not subject to her own laws. He now, sorry, oh God, yes. Long live the king. Yes. So, but in Nigeria, we don't have such a system in place. So even the president is subject to the law. Everybody is subject to the law, right? Including the police officer, the military officer, the EFCC officer. Everybody is subject to the law. It's the same way that the average citizen, the citizen can be investigated and prosecuted. That's the same way anybody, literally anybody. For someone like the former CBN governor, people will not expect that you will probably stand trial or whatever, even though we are allegedly whatever the charges against him are. But you see, that is an example of the fact that it doesn't matter how high you rise, we are all subject to the law. Even though some persons have developed an air of impunity and they feel they cannot be touched, anybody can be touched. In fact, I discovered something that in the West and in other parts of Europe, You are a target for to be subject to the law if you become popular or powerful or rich or whatever. Why? Because it is usually when the law is applied to rich and powerful people, that is when the poor people know that it applies to everybody. But when you are doing selective enforcement or selective administration of justice, generally you erode the foundation of justice like we have in Nigeria, and people no longer believe in justice. People want to now do self-help, like the case you cited about the two brothers who were lynched and then set ablaze by an angry mob. So yes, it doesn't matter whether the person that is doing the violation of your human rights is the chief of defense staff or whoever it is, right? You do the same thing. You file a complaint. Their complaint must be filed. You file a complaint. If they are not giving you attention, you can approach ISHAKU Legal Hub or whichever the NBA, Human Rights Commission, or a lawyer close to you for consultation to find out, to take up the matter, to take up the complaint, so that we have the Human Rights Commission and sorry, the Human Rights Radio, TV and radio here in Nigeria and all that. I mean Abuja. But yes, there are several platforms and avenues, So you should not suffer in silence. That's the point.
Yes.
You should not
Don't suffer in silence. A very, very vital point for you to take home. Don't suffer in silence. And just by a way of reminder, when we're listing the avenues for you to get legal representation and pro bono services, we forgot a very, very powerful aspect, a very, very powerful institution, the FIDA.
Yeah.
Especially if you are a woman being violated for domestic violence or any form of violent crimes against you, the FIDA is there for you. FIDA is very vibrant. FIDA is very active. FIDA is a federation of women lawyers, and they will always be there for you. Now, to cap up on the discussion we had, the just concluded answer. As far as the Nigerian law is concerned, we all are equal before the law. Whether the person is a uniformed personnel, is a civilian like you, nobody has been authorized to oppress you or to subject you to any form of treatment. Most of us and a lot of people suffering this are suffering in silence because of the position of the person. We have seen instances of reckless behaviors by the uniformed personnel, and there are steps you can actually take against any person that is doing this. Yeah. One thing I give the army is the military does not tolerate indiscipline in whatever form. Nobody has the uniform and the arms or whatever for the operation of the Nigerian citizen, is for our defense. So please and please, we have collective responsibility to ensure things like this are not happening. We are in the social media time. We have had instances where if the victim tries to, let's say, tries to record or do some stuff like that, they get attacked, their phones have been broken and the rest. But it's usually happening in public. So please, the public has general responsibility. Let us rise up to the defense of the person being violated. Record him, record whoever is doing this violation. The days of social media has brought so much advantage of evidence, has brought so much advantage for discipline against people perpetrating this. In the last administration, we have seen a number of police people that have been tried or the room trial. Some have been sacked, some have been demoted because of these reckless behaviors. So please, we owe ourselves a responsibility to sanitize the society for ourselves. If you are a uniformed personnel, stay within your lane. If you are a civilian, stay within your lane. Whether you are a civilian or a uniformed personnel, nobody should oppress a fellow Nigerian. And if we see anybody oppressing a fellow Nigerian, please, we have a collective responsibility to escalate those matters to the appropriate authorities. And I assure you, they always come handy.
I would like to add something to that because sometimes some person will say, I'm not the one whose right is being violated.
Yes.
So why should I complain? Can I complain?
What is your own?
Can I do something when I'm seeing an injustice, a human rights being violated? Yes. Under the fundamental human rights rules of enforcement procedure, right, of the put into force by the Chief Justice of Nigeria, the issue of the fact that no be your human rights now they violate is no longer an issue.
Yeah.
Any citizen, any organization can stand up and say these people, their rights have been violated, we want to defend them. Can go to court, can write, can complain. So it's a collective, it's a communal responsibility to ensure that everybody's human rights are enforced.
Human rights enforcement is a communal responsibility. It's not the matter of na your own, na my own. Injustice to one
It's
is
injustice.
injustice to all. If it is done against me, rise up for me. If it is done against him, let us all rise up for him. Now, I don't know how you will guide us. Most of the times when we approach courts or when we approach lawyers to take up our matters, you begin to ask for evidence. You begin to ask for evidence. So, how can I gather evidence of human rights violation? What are the things that my lawyer will ask me if I complained of human rights violation?
Okay. Um Now it depends on the type of human rights that is you are trying to protect or enforce. Um, Although generally evidence is something that method of capturing, preserving, or transmitting is general. You are trying to thank God for the coming of the advancement in information communication technology, the advancement, the availability of Android camera phones and other types of phones that offer those capacities and enablements. Now, you want to be deliberate. You want to be deliberate to the extent that you are aware of your situation, right? And you are aware that that's why the first point we made was to know your rights. When you know your rights, if it is being violated or when it's about to be violated, you can take preemptive steps.
Yes.
Right? Yes. You want to keep audio recordings, video recordings, text messages, don't delete them. Okay. Paper documents from the beginning of, in fact, everybody should take this as a general advice. Once you are doing something that has to involve another human being of whom you cannot trust, and even the ones sometimes the ones you can trust, always keep evidence. If you are not someone that likes to gather and always keep evidence, you will not know the day that somebody will say, oh, this person said this thing or that thing, and then you say, no, I have a video recording or a phone recording that says that person did not say this thing. That becomes a saving factor. So yes, you are dealing with people and they are violating your rights, they want to violate your rights, you want to keep record. Audio recordings, video recordings, documents. And then you want to have witnesses. You want to have witnesses. You say, okay, I was not alone. These two people were there when this thing happened. This was how it happened. This was what happened, right? Um, yes, and then and so on and so forth. Yes, you yourself, you are part of the evidence we're talking about. So for adventure, somebody causes physical bodily harm to you, don't just go and treat the wound. Snap it first. You understand? Snap it first. Get a medical report that says this was what happened to this person, this was the treatment we offered. All these things constitute valid and important evidence to prove your case.
Valid evidence to prove your case. Make it no can happen to you as the slogan goes in social media. You go explain tire, no evidence. Don't do like that. Whatever you need to do, document your transaction, document your conversations, get it recorded, get it. Let there be a trace of whatever you are doing. So, sir, and when you were introducing yourself, you made mention of duty right solicitors.
Yes, due to solicitors network.
DT Solicitors Network. Please, in closing, can you tell us what is Duty Solicitors Network? What do they do actually? What do you do as a Northern coordinator? Tell us about this body.
All right, so the Duty Solicitors Network is a body of lawyers and organizations that work together to promote, support, and encourage lawyers. We train, promote, support lawyers who engage in the protection of pre-trial detainee rights. When you say you're a pre-trial detainee, what means is that your matter never go court, or if you go court, the thing never go far, e never reach that early part of the case, or that time when they arrest you for police station or for ESF. That is pre-trial detention, pre-trial detainee. So and in fact, we learned that almost over 60% of people in the correctional services are waiting trial.
Hmm.
So Duty Solicitors Network supports, train, promotes lawyers who go out to ensure that people who have been arrested, people who need human rights protection, are given those rights. Right. So we operate heavily in the southwest, and then in the north central. We are growing into other places in the country, and then we know that through our partnerships with the judiciary, civil society organizations, NGOs, and then the Nigerian Bar Session, FIDA, and all that, that the initiative can succeed. Because with the number of lawyers we have in Nigeria, nobody should be without legal representation when they need one. So Duty Solicitors Network seeks to close the gap. We don't just go ourselves, we encourage and support others who do. Right? So the idea of duty solicitors was created by what you call the Police Duty Solicitor Scheme, which is a scheme that was formulated by the Open Society Initiative for West Africa and the Legal Aid Council of Nigeria in collaboration with the Nigeria Police Force. So initially it was meant for lawyers who are corps members or thereabout to be posted to police stations where they will sit down, make sure that if anybody is arrested, they will check what was the person arrested for. Do we have evidence of this person? So some cases are cases that doesn't need to go to court, or those who don't need to be arrested. I mean, detained. So they intervene and see how the matter the person will not be locked up unnecessarily. So, this was something that started about 20 years ago. And within that period, over 13,000 people were not later taken to court.
So over 13,000 people have access service of duty.
Yeah, no, the numbers is way above that right now. I'm talking about this was over 10 years ago. Wow. Right now, the numbers have definitely, we are talking about in the range of 20 to 30,000 people who have benefited from some of these initiatives, especially the PDSS. PDSS is Police Duty Solicitor Scheme. That's why that we keep repeating police. Yeah. So the idea is to have lawyers, because now we have lawyers who are working who may not be able to go and sit down in a police station from morning to evening. So from time to time, from month to month, week to week, sometimes we go more than once a month, but most times we go once a month. You go with the magistrates or you go as a team to the police station, and then you want to check their crime diary, check those who are in detention. Some of them are not supposed to be there, so you prevail on the.
So does the police allow you to access the crime diaries and go to?
That's a very good question, because the magistrates have access because their own comes by law.
Yeah.
Human Rights Commission because of law, Legal Aid Council because of law. The Duty to Resource Network is a private organization. It's not a government organization. It's an NGO. So definitely we don't have the legal backing or power. We're trying to advocate so that it will be made possible for the Nigerian Bar Association and other organizations like FIDA to be able to do this thing we're talking about. But for now, we partner with the magistrates, we partner with the police, and sometimes they give us access, but most times they resist us because they don't want us to bring help to those that need help, because that's how they make their illicit and illegal earnings, through asking people to bail themselves, which is a form of ransom. You know, you kidnap the person and then you say pay ransom. You know, it is a sad reality in Nigeria, and we look forward to the day that we can have a better country.
Okay, so if you do these services, now how can I, as an indigent member of the society, access service and help from duty network solicitors?
And for the for those people, we have a target group. We have
Okay.
a target group
Can
because
we know the target group, please,
the
so that I'll know
target,
whether I fall within your target?
yeah, the target group, like I have explained, is these are persons who have been arrested. We usually come in at that point where you have a relationship with the police, either by way of an arrest or you are in detention.
Not friendly
Not friendly
relationship.
relationship. That's where we come in. So when we come in at that point, you have been arrested. The police is not taking you to court. They are not releasing you. It's illegal. It's unconstitutional. It's a violation of your human rights. That is our concern. So if you are in that group or that category, if we have duty solicitors near you, right, you can reach out to us through your family, and you are indigent, not that you have money and you are trying to escape.
Okay, so most times when people are in detention, their families make effort to access lawyer for them. Is it the same way? Can the family of a detained person reach out to duty network
In our own
solicitors?
case, we are not a legal representative to the
Okay.
person in detention,
Okay.
because if you say legal representative, it means we're offering you legal services. We offer legal services to the society. It's not tailored to, like I said before, it's not for you to say you want to escape, criminal liability or not. Yes, if we have duty solicitors around that area or in that police station, they are going to insist to the police to follow the law.
Okay.
Yes, our work is not to hold your brief. We are holding the brief of the Constitution. So when you reach out to us, if you do, our goal is to ensure that. So we are not going to come and tell the police, don't arrest this person or don't do this. We're going to tell them if they will do anything, they should do it in accordance to the law. So if they don't have a good case against, release the person. If you have a case against the person, arraign the person. Simple. Thank you.
Interesting. Thank you so much. We truly appreciate your time. We appreciate the volume and weight of information you have downloaded to us here. For our viewers, we are sure you must have learned a number of things here. This video will still be available for you even after the live session. You can come over and watch it over and over to learn. You can share the link to this video. I'm sure a lot of people are out there that need this information. We're dishing it out for free just so that you'll be educated and you'll be enlightened. So we'll be drawing the curtains here, and we'll see you next week on another interesting enlightenment session. Make sure you don't miss it and keep following. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Don't forget to share the link for others to learn. Thank you. We appreciate you. Thank you so much, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Well done, sir.
All right.